Hey friends, so this is video 2 of 3 for our patterns and relationships. This is part 2, which is where we're going to analyze the patterns within context. So video 1, we just analyzed patterns in a table. Now we're going to take it and apply it to context, which is just word problems. Same process, just we have words now. So when we analyze our patterns in our context, we have 4 steps that we want to take. Step 1 is the obvious. We want to read the word problem. Step 2 is that we want to create a table and label it according to the word problem or according to the context. Step 3 is that once we figure out the pattern, you remember from yesterday, we try to figure out if we could find the pattern and skip numbers, that we can start to skip the numbers and don't have to make a table that is 11 numbers long. And then we want to make sure that we do answer the problem using a complete sentence. So let's jump right into a practice problem. So Jim knows how to turn 1 cup of flour into 2 cupcakes. How many cupcakes can he make with 5 cups of flour? Now, yes, I know. Some of you can look at this and automatically tell me the answer. But remember, the purpose of this is to make a table. So the standard is making a table. So we want to make sure we do that table and show this a way to show our thinking, okay? So if you wanted to create a table using Google Slides, which is what I did, up at the top, hit Insert, and then go to Table, and then create your table as a 2 by, and then however many rows that you need. So this one right here is just a 2 by 6. You are free to go into Google Slides to do this, or you can do it on paper, whatever is easier for you. I know some people like to utilize technology, so bam, there you go. All right, so first thing we want to do is that we want to create our table and we want to label it. And when we label it, we want to give each of our labels a variable. So remember, when we do our equation, we're going to have 2 variables. So here, I know I'm talking about flour, which I labeled F, and I'm talking about cupcakes, which I labeled C. You can use whatever variables you want. As you remember, a variable is a letter that represents an unknown number. So I don't know what those numbers are because I'm looking for that pattern. So if you didn't want to use F and C, you could have used X and Y or S and K, whatever you want to use. So once I have my table labeled, I want to start filling in what I know. So the first thing I know is that he said that he can take 1 cup of flour, so 1 cup of flour, and it equals 2 cupcakes. So therefore, if he has 2 cups of flour, it's going to give me 4 cupcakes. Notice the pattern already. 3 cups of flour is going to give me 6 cupcakes. So here, my pattern is I'm going from 1, 2, and 3, how many cups of flour, and then each time something's happening to how many cupcakes I can make. So, do you notice the pattern already? And I'm sure you already have. Is the pattern increasing or decreasing? And what is happening each time? So notice it's not just some random, he has 2 cups of flour and can make 24 cupcakes. It's still consistent with his 1 cup of flour to 2 cupcakes. So can we figure out the answer without completing the entire table? Well, first, let's talk about figure out if we can find the equation. So here, 1 cup of flour, it gives me 2 cupcakes. So I know I can say 1 times 2. Well, let's see if that works every time. 2 cups of flour gives me 4 cupcakes. What's 2 times 2? 4. 3 cups of flour gives me 6 cupcakes. What's 3 times 2? 6. Very good. So therefore, I know that my equation is going to be F times 2 equals C. So my F is how much flour, which means if I can figure out how many cupcakes I can make with 15 cups of flour, I can figure out how much I need to feed my party that I have coming over. So what we're going to do is that we're going to do what my middle school math teacher used to say all the time when we did stuff like this, where we would plug in our number for a variable. So this F can equal any number based on our chart. So I know that I'm trying to figure out how many cupcakes he can make with 5 cups of flour. So what I want to do is take my 5 and plug it in. I know some of y'all have heard me say that before, way back in the day. You can YouTube it. Glade plugins had a commercial, and their catch was always plug it in, plug it in. So that's what he would say. So what we're going to do is we're going to plug in our number of flour into our F, because that's what that says that variable is, to figure out C. So if I have 5 cups of flour, and I know every time I have a cup of flour, I'm multiplying it by 2. 5 times 2 is going to give me the number of cupcakes, which is going to be 10. Very good. I was seeing if y'all were going to answer before I clicked it. Really, I was just going slow. Now, I can do this same thing going backwards. So if I say that I need to make 24 cupcakes, I can plug in 24 for my C. And I know 24 equals 2 times F. And I'm trying to find my F. Well, what can I multiply by 2 to get 24? Well, that means I need 12 cups of flour. Easy, easy. I'm telling y'all guys. All right, so let's do another practice. This one, I'm going to kick it up a notch, okay? Sometimes when you're trying to find your pattern, it's not going to be simple as just doing one operation. Sometimes you have to do a multi-step operation to figure out your X to your Y, and this is one of those times. So Sarah started an exercise program and is increasing the number of sit-ups she does each day. On day 1, she starts with 6 sit-ups, and she follows the pattern on the table. How many sit-ups will Sarah do on day 8? Looking at this table, you can see that she doesn't just do the same exact pattern each day. Take that back. She's doing the same pattern, but it's a multi-step pattern, which means I have to do 2 different things to get to that number. So with that said, I know I can add 5 to 1 to get 6, or I can multiply 6 times 1 to get 6. But I can't do that with the other ones at all. So what I want to ask myself is, I know I'm increasing, okay, so I know I'm going to multiply or add. Is there a number that I can multiply or add to get close to this and then use the other operation? For instance, can I multiply something by 2 to get close to 10 and then add something to kind of jump over that hurdle? So I know I can say 2 times 5 is 10, but 1 times 5 is not 6, so that doesn't work. Could I then decide to, okay, let me take it down 1. 2 times 4. Well, 2 times 4 is 8. Oh, that's close to 10. What can I do with 8 to get 10? I can add 2. So here I'm going to say 2 times 4 is 8 plus 2 is 10. Let's see if that works. 1 times 4 is 4 plus 2 is 6. Works on that one. 3 times 4 is 12 plus 2 is 14. We're getting somewhere. 4 times 4 is 16 plus 2 is 18. I think we got something. Guys. So did you notice the pattern? And we do know it's multiple steps, and it is increasing. So there we say, this is our pattern right here. Notice I have parentheses because we have to use order of operations. Because here I needed to multiply before I added. Okay, so D, my number of days, multiplied by 4, and adding that to 2 will give me the number of sit-ups. So now, can we figure out the answer without completing the entire table? So here, I know that I needed day 8, so that's going to be my number I plug in for my D. 8 times 4 is 32, plus 2 is 34. So how many sit-ups did she complete on day 8? 34. Okay, so let's practice one more time. Okay, I try to say how I had it written. Y'all like me, I know. So this table shows how much floss was used at a dentist office after a certain number of days. Assuming the pattern continues, how many days would it take to use up 374 feet of floss? So this goes back to what I said earlier. Sometimes you can take your pattern and flip it to figure out what you're missing. So here, if I had this as X and this as Y, I'm trying to find my X. I know my Y. My Y is going to be 374. So could I use my pattern to figure out my X? So we're going to use the same steps as before. We want to know, is it increasing or decreasing? And I still want to do it by X and Y. So 2 to 68, 3 to 102, 7 to 238. Well, I'm increasing. Do I need to add or multiply? Okay. So what we're going to do, let's see if I ever know. Okay. What we're going to do is that we are going to give these variables. Okay. So I'm going to say this is D for days and this is F for floss. So what can I do to 2 to get 68? Well, I can multiply 34. I know that already. So let's see if that works every single time. So can I say 3 times 34 is 102? Yep. 7, notice it skipped. 7 times 34 is what? 238. So wham, bam, I have my pattern already. So I can write my equation as D, which is the number of days, multiplied by 34 is going to give me how much floss I need. So can we now, or not can we can now figure out the answer to the table without completing the entire table. Okay, but now I got to go backwards. Here, I know that I have 374 feet, and I'm trying to figure out how many days that's going to take. Well, I know the opposite of multiplication is division. So if I plug in 374 over here, I need to divide that by 34 over here. So I want to take 374 feet and divide it by 34 to get my number of days. And I do want to, and I notice this is the first time I actually wrote it as a complete sentence. Make sure all of the problems you do write as a complete sentence. I will fix that in my next video. Okay. So it would take blank days to use up 374 feet of floss. And you're going to plug in your answer right there. Do it now. Did you do it? Oh. All right. So now what you're going to do is you're going to go to Google Classroom. You're going to find today's date, which is going to be 4/14. And it is a Nearpod assignment. I know it says quiz, but it's not a quiz. I just like the assignment that you're going to complete using context and patterns. If you have any questions, email me and let me know. I will actually have another video that goes along with this that breaks this down a little bit more. It's optional to watch, but if you need to watch it, you can watch it.